Hello, friends. Welcome to the Thought Leadership Show from Quadrant Knowledge Solutions, where we invite business and technology leaders to share their leadership perspectives in different contexts. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Alain Veuve, who is the CEO and founder of Parashift AG. Hello, Alain. Welcome to the Thought Leadership Show, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, Shekhar. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Our pleasure too. So just give the brief profile of the speaker. Alan is the founder and CEO of machine learning startup Parashift AG and the founder and chairman of Swiss digital tax consultant Accounto AG. Alan has the strategically advised various global companies in the digital transformation and in their business undertakings as well. So today he's a much quoted thought leader for digital transformation in Europe and a regular speaker in many of the conferences. In 2017, LinkedIn named him one of the top 20 voices in Europe. It's our privilege to have Mr. Alain Veuve in our show today. So, Alan, I will come to the first question of the today's episode. The recent most trying circumstances like the pandemic, the war, and the disruption in the global trade, all these have made business leaders rethink and replan their operational strategies. Moreover, organizations are swiftly moving towards the adoption of digital transformation technologies. So, according to you, how business leadership is evolving to drive the change management strategy and the successful digital transformation?
Yeah, very interesting topic. Actually, what I have learned over time is that, yeah, I mean, before the pandemic, let's put it that way. Before the pandemic, I was for quite some years consulting for top executives on digital transformation, and what I often felt is that there was not enough conviction basically to really start initiatives. Means investing into digital transformation, replacing existing system, and yeah, most important, processes. And I feel like the pandemic has been like a brute force sort of energy to actually push all those people into a zone where they really now are getting serious about investing in digital transformation. So when I speak to leaders today, there's no difference between what they talk and what they actually do. So what before the pandemic, that was two different things. Everybody was saying, well, the digital transformation is important, and then if they needed to start to invest heavily or change the organization, that started to be an issue, and they were hesitant. And well, do we really need this? And I think the pandemic helped in this way to actually, push people over the line where they really get real about digital transformation.
Okay. So, do you want to suggest a possible roadmap for this successful digital transformation?
Yeah, I mean, what I have learned from all of those conversations I had is that it's and it sounds a bit sort of esoterical maybe, but what you really need to have in your management team is strong conviction that digital is all things need to be digital first. I think of the digital tools or digital technology as like power or like electricity. It's like it's not, you don't need to be electricity or a power company to use electricity and base everything on that. And same goes with the newer technologies such as the digital technologies. So there needs to be a strong conviction that whatever you do, it's based on software, it's based on technology that uses digital processes. And if there is like a strong commitment to that in the management team, then things are built very differently. And I think it's important that you don't try to just digitize existing processes, but that you actually are starting to rebuild processes and organizations from scratch, meaning that you look at it and think of, okay, how can we build this with all the new possibilities we have from digital technology? So that's like the mind step thing. And then when it, as a second step, probably I would strongly recommend not to do so. This is big bang projects where there's like a lot of technologies and departments are involved, and I've seen so many of these initiatives, going south basically, and it was very costly and it was very bad basically, and I think that's to avoid. It's actually a lot better to start small and take it from there. So as we know it from lean development, maybe not start with the super crucial base process, but more go like second row processes and learn from those. And when you are feeling really strong in the organization, then push through and get it through everything. I think this is important. And then the other thing I also recommend is not to, you don't need to automate and digitize like the last 20 to 10% basically, because these are the hardest, the most complicated. But there's quite a lot of things that humans are actually very good in doing. And the cost benefit ratio is actually phenomenal for some tasks. So in the other at the other end of the range basically is like people that are trying to automate everything and spend a lot of money and do a lot of complicated things just because they can. And I think that's wrong in the same way as if you would not digitize anything. So that's sort of my view on that.
Yeah, okay, perfect. That's really a good observation from your side. So, what do you think about the industry leaders' response to the recent changes brought about by the technologies like the cloud, the machine learning, the artificial intelligence in the software industry as well as in the user industry?
Yeah, I mean, I often joke about I'm a kid of the cloud movement, so I firmly believe that all sort of software needs to move into the cloud, and it's not a religion, you know. It's more like I think if you there's a lot of things you can only do in the cloud. Basically, what we do at Parashift, combining all the data and use case learning and tenant learnings, the cross-tenant learnings. If you have like hundreds of on-prem installations out there, and you would never be able to do what we do with Parashift. And still in the cloud, it's challenging, but it's at least it's doable. So I think, and this is sort of my conviction is also that every software in the future has some components of machine learning integrated, just to make to improve user experience tremendously. I think that's important, and user experience is best measured in time a user needs to spend with the application. So in that inherently means that basically if there's a lot of tasks that automated in the exchange with the software and the interaction with the software of the user, that means you can bring down this time and the user spends with the application, and that's actually cost of use, apart from licenses and operational computing cost. But and people tend to underestimate that. So in business software, basically. So that's a long chain of reasoning, basically. But the cloud enables machine learning. Machine learning enables low interaction times from users with softwares, means more automation. And so that's sort of the reasoning why I think cloud is super important. And then what I also see is, and especially in the past 12 months, we've been struggling winning banks with Parashift traditionally. So Parashift is actually a very young company, but we've been struggling winning banks over cloud and compliance reasons, because our main product is a cloud product, and you make best use of using the cloud version. And But in the past 6 months, 6 to 12 months, this changed tremendously. So this past 6 months, we've won like, I think 10 banks, went all through the compliance processes, went through InfoSec questions. And what I felt is this mind change that these guys we have strategically decided to go to the cloud. And now we need to convince our organization internally that this is really the thing we need to do. So it means speaking to compliance officers. So I found myself in a lot of meetings with compliance people, trying to explain what is the exposure of data they have if they go to the cloud. And what I feel is that they are very inexperienced with this. So a lot of big corporations that have not did not do this tectonic shift into the cloud, that actually are very inexperienced on what are the risks or on what are the procedures. Although on a technical level, the IT teams are very, very experienced. So I think this is accelerating. We will see a lot of big companies really go full cloud, also with very sensitive customer data, which is a point of concern. I don't want to neglect that. Yeah, but I think this will ultimately drive automation rates, process optimization rates in big enterprises tremendously, and that's really the main gain you can get from moving into the cloud, as well as reducing infrastructure complexity on premise, which is in big corporations still a huge issue. I mean, I know of like a couple of CIOs that maintain very old school mainframe systems. They only have like 2 people that can maintain this stuff, and they're one of these 2 guys that was already retired. So these kind of stories, these are out there, and you would never think that a big insurance company, for example, runs core systems or crucial systems in a situation like that. Yeah, so I think over time, everybody will move into the cloud. A lot more machine learning will come into business applications, and I can only recommend to any sort of software vendors to try to build their next generation of product with machine learning first, with a machine learning first attitude. So really thinking of what can we sort of automate in application. Yeah.
Okay, that's really a perfect observation from your side, since you have been interacting with many people, so that put you in a position to share your observations and your views on this topic. But I just want to know, has the user experience really improved with this kind of new technologies, and how is the response from the user from these technologies?
Well, it depends on what you compare. I mean, we still, I think we underestimate progress in the long term and overestimate it in the short term. That's nothing new. I think that's common sense. But I'm just amazed in how often that is happening again and again. So if we say like, okay, does machine learning, for example, does machine learning, or take cloud and machine learning, I don't care. It's sort of the new trends we're moving into. Did this improve software in the past 3 years? Basically, nobody would say, yes, it was a drastic improvement. I think but the people that are experienced and deep into machine learning, of course, they know what are the sort of the technical gains we have made. We've made huge progress on all fronts. But from a user perspective, that I think that's what you're referring to. People don't think we've been making big progress. But if you look back then 10 years, or even 20 years, I mean, software is not the same thing as it was 20 years ago. Not at all. Yeah. I mean, think of that every sort of appliance or item, technology, or appliance or item, household item actually starts to convert running on software, and that's so this notion that everything needs to needs to be running on software. So basically all the everyday items. It is, I think, is a major change, and we will see more and more of that. And I think for most users also that are not like in IT or yeah, basically software will sort of vanish out of their perception because it's an integrated part of all of everyday items. And it just runs on software as maybe before it was not so smart, or it was running on microcontrollers or these kind of things. So yeah, basically, I think we've been making huge progress, and in the field of process automation, RPA, and intelligent document processing, especially, I think we've just begun. Yeah, I think, and that's what we try to build at Parashift is building this huge, super huge data network in the document space, that eventually could become something like a GPT-3 for document extractions. But I think these things are hard. It's not only very expensive. It's only hard. It's also hard to build. Yeah. So there's many unknown variables, and yeah, we're trying to figure out one after the other while maintaining and serving a product to the market that's already super competitive and useful. But again, I think we've only seen the beginning of it. Yeah, I expect wild improvements over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay. So globalization has opened up a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship, but at the same time, it has brought in challenges too. So, would you like to share your observations on entrepreneurship opportunities and challenges in today's very competitive and volatile business environment?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually it's funny that you ask that, because it's some of the things I don't like with the market development in the IDP sector. The basically, I think process automation for documents is something that comes in so many different colors and shades. And like for every use case and every vertical, there are niche solutions out there. And when we started 4 years ago, basically the situation was dramatically different. There was like the legacy vendors that basically did rule-based or template-based parsing out of OCR dumps, and now we have like a lot of new players out there. In general, I think competition is a very good thing, especially if this is a new movement, so which I think IDP is, and companies as yours, or also Everest and all the others, they're sort of trying to coin and help educate decision makers on that IDP is a technology that really is very helpful and useful, and that should be part of the digital transformation tool set of every document of every enterprise company. So I think we're still in the education phase, and in the education phase of a market, every competitor helps basically to make the topic more important. But on the other hand, this is, yeah, I still remember in like 2 years ago, we were asked like from very big corporations, and they didn't have a lot of alternatives. Still with the positioning or the feature set we now have at Parashift, we're really going for this super broad, like hundreds of document types, and this is in this sphere we don't have many competitors basically, but the evaluation rounds are actually big, and reminds me of what I did in the past with e-commerce, for example, in previous companies, where always have been like 10 or 5 to 10 other vendors has been in part of evaluations, And I think it's going towards that as well in the IDP sector. Yeah, so just recently we won a evaluation where the client did evaluate, like, I think 12 vendors globally, and happily they choose us in the end. But yeah, I mean that's what the reality is. So it's a global market, and I very much see myself and especially Parashift as a born globally company. So we're never had the idea that we're just like doing business in Switzerland or in Germany. It's more like, of course, you have focuses on market entries and what you do, but after all, I mean, this is a product that can be used by everybody on the planet. And I've been doing international business before, so the typical things I find challenges is sort of the the very basic thing is challenging. Basically, time zone differences. I don't know how many meetings we have in the afternoon and the evening, basically here, because we get a larger footprint in the US, and then more to the sophisticated challenges is like these culture differences. It's super different to sell even sell to somebody in France. Yeah. Yeah, actually you need to get a lot of, you need to train people to get aware of differences and how to deal with them well. Yeah, and then other than that, I think we're a bit in a phase where globalization is, I don't know, I think countries step on brakes a bit. That's what I feel. So it's like I don't think there will be a long-term reverse trend to globalization, so such as a deglobalization. But all with this turmoil and this putting nations in priority over other nations, what we're seeing in the world, I think that's not a long-term track. But in short term, this is going to be not so great for doing international business, especially if your home turf such is a small country such as Switzerland. Yeah, so this is not such a big market, and these are the moments where I would wish we've just found it in the US, which we did not. So just to have a super huge market. But yeah, I still believe that. Yeah, and now this gets philosophical in a way. I think, yeah, over time, all humans on the globe will sort of unite in a healthy way and work together. And but that also means that inequalities from regions need to be balanced out better than they are today. And I'm looking forward to do more business globally. So very much looking forward.
Yeah, perfect. Since you yourself has been an entrepreneur for a long time, so that makes a lot more reason to comment on the entrepreneurship opportunities and challenges. But as you rightly said, the globalization itself is bringing both opportunities as well as challenges to the new entrepreneurs. But with the help of technology, I believe this entrepreneurship has a lot more to do in future. And since globalization is offering them a lot of opportunities to connect with each other and think of the global trade in the long term. So that would be really
Absolutely.
beneficial for them.
Mhm.
Right. So that comes to the last question of this session. Can you just highlight some of this prominent emerging technology trends that you feel that would be leveraged for the benefit of society at large?
Yeah, I think what we've yeah, I mean, I'm not a machine learning engineer or architect, so I work in the product as sort of a consultant, in-house consultant on strategies or what we should do. Basically, what we and this is our sort of our main technological topic is what we call document swarm learning or swarm learning, which is a blend of active learning, transfer learning at scale. So basically, the idea is how can we sort of mix thousands of models that work on individual parts of tasks for document extraction in a way into a product that is doing a lot of zero configuration, zero touch processing. So that's really, I think, the ultimate goal. And where I started with Parashift is I was looking for a API that I could just send all the documents from another startup I did, just send all the documents to an API and would get back to results without a lot of basically without configuration and without validation of results. And I was very naive back then, having no clue about the document market. And now I'm thinking, okay, there will be hundreds, or basically there will be dozens of APIs out there that can do that, and I could just pick one. And when we need to put together the product, I was looking for that API and realized there's no such API. It just doesn't exist. And then talk to folks like Abby and Kofax and realized, okay, they can do a lot and they have great products, but they're sort of have a different angle on that. It's like you do a project and then you have certain capabilities and then you need to maintain this capability and then you need to improve. And if changes are there, this is going to be, sort of an intensive care thing. And that actually sparked the idea of building Parashift as an API first product with the idea that over time we're going to build thousands of document types ready-made, pre-trained, globally available for enterprises out there. So make document extraction a commodity that you can just consume over connecting to an API. That's basically eating everything that's coming across. And so this is very much the North Star we are developing against. And that's important to know when we talk about machine learning. So we're not like thinking of, we're also thinking of how can we make details better, but there's a lot of challenges in how can we train and form over time this supermassive data network in the document space, and how can we make basically every learning that's happening on the platform, how can we make these learnings available to all the customers? So that's the main challenge. And that's why document swarm learning is the thing that is actually keeping us up until the midnight hour and bring us into the office very early in the morning. It's really this vision of building this in order to get ahead of get ahead of the development that we see in the market. And I think that these basically are the challenges we are facing. Often there are also challenges that you might not think of, such as cost challenges. Training and maintaining infrastructure is super costly. It's not if you do this in small pieces, if you just have like a model here, a model there, but if you run thousands of models and you have like periodic automated retrainings that go in together, so cost is an issue very quickly. We're doing fairly good on that part, but we also need to invest heavily into bringing down cost. So the process is like, okay, how can we solve something? Then figure it out by build a prototype, bring it into the product, then have load on the feature set, and then realize, okay, now we need to bring down cost. How can we actually make that better and restructure it and sort of optimizing it? Because there's this triangle of cost, speed, and accuracy, basically, or quality. So this is you need to sort of balance between these three poles, and that's that's a hard engineering task, and I think our team is doing pretty well on that. Yeah, so these are basically the things that we're in right now.
So we can expect or anticipate a lot of good advanced technologies useful for the society at large in the coming months or also in the coming years.
Yeah,
so
and not from a lot of others. I'm amazed by a lot of other things I see in the market from IDP vendors. So I just salute everybody who is investing and doing innovation in that sector. It's cool.
Mhm. Perfect. Perfect. Thanks for the wonderful insights during this session. You spoke and touched upon lots of aspects of digital transformation, globalization, entrepreneurship, the opportunities, challenges. So it was really wonderful to interact with you. And thanks for your participation. It was absolute pleasure to have you in our show. And I look forward to connecting with you again in future. Thanks a
Thank you. It
lot.
was an honor to be here. Thank you very much.